Upwards of 80 animals, including horses, goats, and dogs, are currently trapped on a property in Victoria, Australia, in varying stages of neglect and starvation, suffering from malnutrition, untreated injuries, and severe birth defects due to irresponsible breeding. And the woman that's allegedly responsible has been doing this to animals for a decade. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This video is going to be quite heavy and hard to watch. If you have seen my video on the Stephanie Redlich case, then you will have a bit of an idea as to what is in store and what you can expect from this video. Only the scope of this case is even worse than the Stephanie Redlich case. This is your trigger warning. This video will discuss topics of animal abuse and neglect. There will be graphic photos and graphic descriptions ahead. If that is not something that you can handle at this point in time, that is completely okay. Please take care of yourself. As always with these types of cases, all of this is alleged. Nothing has been proven in a court of law. Draw your own conclusions when presented with the facts and the witness statements. Maxine Fraser, also known as Maxine Galfin, is currently under investigation by the RSPCA due to allegations of horrible animal neglect. Maxine Fraser is a racehorse trainer who had her license revoked by Racing Victoria back in 2017. After several people raised concerns about Maxine's conduct, Racing Victoria inspected her property a total of 7 times between 2011 and 2013 and found significant hazards to humans and horses. Conditions were placed onto her license, but later inspections determined that none of the issues had been addressed on the property. Racing Victoria found several horses on her property that were suffering from malnutrition and saw horses fighting over food and water. Technically, the full official reason for her license being revoked was not released to the public, but industry insiders have said that it was due to long-standing concerns for animal welfare and management. Allegedly, her horses were often lame and malnourished, and jockeys actually refused to ride her horses. And the fact that there were long-standing concerns about Maxine's conduct way back in 2016 says to me that she's been doing this for well over a decade, which is absolutely wild. I have heard from a few different places that Maxine has really struggled with her mental health over the past few years, and while I sympathize, that is simply not an excuse for neglecting or abusing animals. There is no justifiable reason to cause this amount of pain when there are people who are offering to help you. Right now on the 28-acre property, there are as many as 90 individual animals, including horses, dogs, and goats. The exact number isn't really known. Witness reports have been, varying. I've heard 30 horses, 50 horses. I've heard 70 to 90 animals. I've heard over 90 animals. The exact number isn't really clear. Neighbors and local animal welfare advocates have been doing rolling protests daily since May to try and get media attention to this case and to try to get the RSPCA to do something. A lot of the information about this case and the state of the animals that I'm about to share comes from what the protesters and other locals have said that they've seen and experienced. There is obviously photo evidence as well, but since a lot of this information comes from word of mouth, I have to disclose it as such for legal reasons. The horses on this property are all in varying stages of malnutrition, with some horses looking to be only 50 to 100 pounds underweight or so, and some being completely emaciated, quite literally skin and bones, just walking skeletons, and it is truly, truly heartbreaking to see any animal in this condition. There are horses with horrible untreated injuries and open wounds, as well as some horses with limb deformities that seem to be the result of irresponsible and unchecked breeding that is happening. Maxine has multiple stallions on the property in addition to mares, geldings, and foals. There are several very young horses on the property, some that are foals a few months old, others that appear to be yearlings, and they are all in a horrible state of malnutrition. There's one photo in particular that I saw that looks to be a horse that's maybe around a year, but honestly, when you deprive a horse of food, just like with a human, sometimes their growth can be stunted. So this horse could be a yearling, it could be 2, it could be 3. It's hard to really say for sure. But there's this one photo that I'm thinking of in particular that just the horse is so thin and so young, and it just truly breaks my heart to see. There's one photo of a pregnant mare who is so dangerously underweight that I seriously question if she will be able to survive her pregnancy, and if she does survive her pregnancy, if she will be able to survive the birth. Horses have been seen eating mud and bark due to the lack of adequate feed. Protesters have reported seeing the horses being fed at very infrequent intervals and being fed things like apples and bread instead of hay or actual horse feed. Since the RSPCA has started visiting the property regularly, protesters have said that they have been seeing hay being delivered every 4 weeks or so, either a couple days before or the day of the RSPCA inspection. The hay is then fed to the horses, it's fought over and very quickly demolished, and then the horses are left for weeks again without hay. A lot of these emaciated horses also have very bloated stomachs, which can be an indicator of a high parasite load, and my guess is that considering the fact that these horses are not being fed properly, they're not getting medical attention, they're not getting farrier attention, it's probably incredibly unlikely that they're being dewormed. So my guess is that all of these bloated bellies are probably a result of a very high parasite load. Potentially one of the most horrific claims that I've heard about this situation is that when horses and other animals are dying on the property, they are dragged by chains to a burn pile where they are then set on fire, and neighbors, locals, protesters, a lot of people in the area have been saying that you can smell the burnt flesh on the air. And something, like, I know that the animals are already dead at that point, but just something about that is so truly haunting. To smell dead flesh, period, is very horrible and haunting, but especially for the protesters to know that these are horses that they've been seeing in these horrible conditions and they're trying to get something done and nothing is happening, and then the animals die, and then they have to smell them as they burn. It honestly truly feels very dystopian in some ways. Dogs have also been seen attacking goats and eating remains out of the fire pit. Multiple individuals and rescues have offered to help Maxine. People have been offering to donate part of their own private hay supply, which I will just note is during the middle of a hay shortage in Victoria, and people are still willing to give their own hay for these horses, and Maxine has refused all help. Veterinarians have also offered their time free of charge, to which she has also refused. Again, this information is coming from people in the area who are sharing their own personal experiences, so technically those claims have not been verified. I mean, photo evidence proves that there are horses that are being neglected and abused, but a lot of these little details are technically hearsay, so do with that what you will. One of the most common questions being raised in the midst of all of this is, why isn't the RSPCA doing anything? Why are the horses still on the property? Why haven't they been seized? The RSPCA is under heavy scrutiny right now because of this situation, and people are very understandably quite angry. I understand the anger and the frustration that people are feeling. Trust me, I feel it too, but I do think that it is important to acknowledge the limitations of the RSPCA. The RSPCA Victoria has warned that the increasing number of cruelty cases against horses can't be investigated unless funding is increased. They've received $2.3 million in funding this year, but they have also received nearly 800 animal cruelty reports this year, and they have a projected operation cost of $10.8 million this year. The RSPCA Victoria Chief Executive, Liz Walker, has said that unless they receive more funding from the state, they will most likely have to restrict the species of animals that they investigate, rehab, and rehome. This would involve them ceasing investigation for horses, poultry, and livestock. If they don't receive more funding, they won't be able to investigate cruelty cases for horses at all. Horses also fall into a regulatory gap. They're not considered livestock and covered by the Department of Agriculture, and they're also not considered pets, which is covered by local government. There's no limit on how many horses a person can have, there are no restrictions on breeding, and there's no national animal welfare standard. The RSPCA operates under very strict protocols. They can only remove an animal from the property if they believe the animal to be in immediate distress, and if they think that that belief can hold up in a court of law. Since right now, a lot of the claims about Maxine Fraser are just that, they're claims, and a lot of the photos are taken from the property line, it's unclear if this kind of evidence and word of mouth would be able to hold up in a court of law. This whole situation is kind of just this big, messy, perfect storm of legislative and legal loopholes. A seizure of this size would also cost hundreds of thousands of dollars that the RSPCA just does not have. I am not saying this to defend the action of leaving the animals on the property in any way. I think it's disgusting and horrible that the laws in the area don't protect the animals, and I think that it's awful that the RSPCA doesn't get enough funding to enforce the laws that they do have. I think the fact that they may have to stop investigating cases for horses, poultry, and livestock should be a serious wake-up call for the local government. What I'm trying to say here is that I don't think the individual workers of the RSPCA are the bad guys. They can't do anything unless the higher-ups approve it, and the higher-ups can't approve it unless it complies with the useless laws that are in place. As much as we all want somebody to blame, I don't think the RSPCA is at fault here. I would love to just blame them and say they need to do something, they need to get the horses off of the property, this is all their fault, they need to do something. But I also have to recognize that as a government-funded organization, they have to operate within the scope of the law. And the animal welfare laws in Victoria leave horses horribly unprotected. If the laws don't change, cases like this will continue to go unprosecuted. Now, according to Meet Our Horse Meat, the RSPCA Victoria entered into a management care agreement with Maxine, a non-binding confidential arrangement that allows the animals to remain under the control of the person accused of neglect with an expectation of voluntary improvement over time. Apparently, these plans can run from 30 to 90 days, and if not complied with, the RSPCA can apply for a seizure order or lay animal cruelty charges. Now, I can't verify the accuracy of this because I have seen no other source share this information or report this, but given that the RSPCA is making consistent regular visits to Maxine's property, I think it's probably fairly likely that they have entered into something similar to this kind of agreement with Maxine, because otherwise I don't know why they would continue to visit the property and not be doing anything, if that makes sense. But honestly, I think this management care agreement is completely useless. Reports of Maxine starving and neglecting horses have been circulating for over a decade. She has been under investigation in one way or another since 2011. If she hasn't changed her ways by now, she's not going to. While technically all of this is alleged, there is substantial evidence against Maxine, and I think the RSPCA doing regular visits is pretty telling. These horses are dying. Slowly and painfully. They're starving. They have untreated wounds, their feet are in horrible condition, and some of them have such horrible limb deformities that it is shocking they're still standing. And when these animals can't hold on anymore and they pass on, they're dragged to a burn pile. This situation is horrible, it is disgusting, and it is one of the worst cases of animal neglect and abuse that I have seen in a very long time. Something needs to be done, which means that the government needs to step up and improve their severely lacking animal welfare laws, or they need to be aiding the RSPCA in attaining a seizure order, or there is no telling how many of these animals will die. Right now, there is really nothing that we can do except spread awareness. Normally, I know I have petitions for you guys to sign, but I don't have anything this time. All we can do is spread the word, continue talking about this so that hopefully more media attention on this case will pressure the organizations who can do something to do something. I know that whenever cases like this are brought to light, we all tend to feel really helpless. And seeing photos like these of animals in these conditions, hearing about this kind of thing happening can just leave you feeling heartbroken. It can leave your brain feeling fried, and it can make you feel really, really empty. And I wish that I had something to say that could help ease some of that pain for you, but I have yet to find words that are capable of that kind of power. Unfortunately, I think that we have to live with that discomfort and that pain if we want to have any hopes of improving lives for those that do not have voices of their own. Thank you guys for watching today's video. I know that it was quite dark, but I think that it is important to continue to use my platform to spread awareness about these kinds of cases. And I always appreciate any of you who are able to stick around through these videos. I know that it's not easy. I always feel weird promoting myself and my other platforms after videos like these. That just feels wrong to me. So instead, stay strong and think critically.